Okay, we'll get started. Welcome everyone to the kickoff webinar for the Clean Energy Community Program in the Capital District. I'm Todd Fabozzi, the Director of Sustainability for the Capital District Regional Planning Commission, and we're excited to kick off the second round of NYSERDA's Clean Energy Communities Program. And this round is called the Leadership Round. So the first round of the program started in 2016, and Capital District Regional Planning Commission was a recipient of a technical assistance and support grant from NYSERDA to assist communities in navigating this program. The area in which we were awarded the grant actually covers 4 regions in eastern upstate New York, and we have partners in the Mohawk Valley, the Hudson Valley, and the North Country who also administer the program in those areas. And we also have a team of private contractors that provide a high level of technical support when we need to call on them. So in 2016, the program was established so that there were 10 high impact actions. It was essentially a menu, and you were offered the opportunity to complete 4 of those and then achieve designation. And in doing so, you would be awarded grant funding. You would have to apply for a grant project that met the criteria of the program, and then you would be awarded match-free grant funding in order to go forward. So the program in our area and in the whole state, in fact, was a great success. And in our direct Capital District region, we had 41 communities that went through the program and got designated and were awarded grants. And the structure of this program, we think is just a wonderful structure in which the state has climate goals to achieve, has established a program, a great program for local governments. So this is specifically a local government program, and is utilizing as partners, strategic partners, regional agencies as the intermediary between the state and the local governments. So we've worked with a lot of you in the past prior to this program, and then have worked with a lot of you in this program, and are looking forward to continuing to work with you, and also to bring on new communities who have not yet engaged in this program. And what we've seen is really the development of human infrastructure through the past 4 years of this program, in being able to really move the dial on a conversion to renewable energy, and really looking at issues of climate change and means of reducing greenhouse gas emissions, of smart government, and of basically saving taxpayers money through some of these initiatives. So as I noted, in round 1, there were 10 high impact actions. The leadership round is a little bit different. And although there are a lot of similarities. So I'll just touch on the differences, and then Jill Hank, our outreach coordinator, is going to give you a presentation to get in depth on the changes in the new program and what constitutes the program. But the differences are that there are 3 new high impact actions. So there are 13 high impact actions instead of 10, and the previous 10 all still hold. So there's just 3 new ones. There is also 2 of those actions will stand alone, and there will be grants called action grants associated with just those 2 actions. One of the actions being community campaigns of various sorts, and the other being the adoption of the Stretch Energy Code. So in other words, for those 2 actions, you can actually get a grant just for doing those actions. The other big difference in this program this time around with the leadership round is that NYSERDA has raised the bar, so that last time you could pick any 4, and communities naturally went to the ones that were the easiest to achieve. And this time around, the bar is being raised. That's why it's called leadership round. And so that the actions are tied to a point system, and you achieve points as you go through the actions. And the actions with the highest number of points are those that have the most greenhouse gas reduction benefits. So it's really incentivizing communities to navigate this program to really make an impact on the reduction of greenhouse gases and to help the state achieve its clean energy goals. So Jill will go through the details of the point system and how that works. And there's really something for everyone in this program, and it's really a great benefit to communities. You just need to have essentially some staff assigned to be able to work through the program, but we provide free technical support, and the grants are match free, and we help you to propose those grants. So we really hold your hand through the whole process. And I should note that in addition to a transition to renewable energy and energy efficiency, which most of the high impact actions focus on, we do include climate smart community certification, which has a whole series of other actions that get into resiliency and get into really addressing other aspects of climate change and other ways of reducing greenhouse gas emissions in the non-power sector. So there's really something for, I think, everyone here. And so I would just like to note that this is an overview webinar. So we're not going to be able to get into in this format into an in-depth discussion. I think we have something like 75 people on this call. But what we really want to do is be able to get then individual meetings with you to be able to then get into really roll up our sleeves and talk specifically about the actions, start to map out a path for you and to help you through that program. And so that'll be the place really to get most of your questions answered. And so I'd like to turn it over to Jill Henk, who's our outreach coordinator for the Capital District region. Tara Donadio was also an outreach coordinator who's on maternity leave. So Jill's carrying the full load right now, and just lucky to have these two great outreach coordinators on our team. And those of you who have worked with them know what I'm talking about. So I'll turn it over to you, Jill.
Thanks, Todd. Thank you everyone for joining us. Hopefully you're having a delicious lunch as we present the leadership round of the Clean Energy Communities program. If any of you have worked with me recently, you know that I've been anticipating the launch of this program, and I'm really excited to be able to share the details with you. So as Todd mentioned, this is just going to be an overview presentation. I'm taking into consideration a lot of you are already familiar with the Clean Energy Communities program, so I'll talk very generally about the high impact actions. I'll mention the changes to the program, including the grant structure. If there's something that is just very unclear, feel free to put a question in the Q&A, and either Haley or Todd will either address it in the Q&A or they'll give me a little nudge for clarification. If it's a question that is specific to your municipality, as Todd had mentioned, we're encouraging municipalities to reach out afterwards to set up a meeting so that we could really get to the details of how each municipality can work through this program. So give me just 1 second and I'm going to share my PowerPoint. Okay, so you should all be able to see my title slide. I'm assuming Todd and Haley will jump in if that is not the case. But become a clean energy community. This is the leadership round. This is your opportunity to stand above within New York State and become a leader and get the energy to make it happen. Let's see here. So first, just introductions. We work in the 8-county capital region, which is Albany, Rensselaer, Schenectady, Saratoga, Columbia, Greene, Warren, and Washington counties. As Todd mentioned, he is the director of the program. I am Jill Henk. These are all pre-COVID photos, so if you don't recognize us, that is why. Just a little background on me, if you don't already know me, I've worked at CDRPC for 3 years now. Tara and I split the communities in the 8-county region in no logical manner. So if you're wondering which one of us is your outreach coordinator, just ask, we'd be happy to clarify. Just a couple housekeeping notes for myself. I was fortunate in that we got 1.5 feet of snow here that I was able to work from home. But I also have a couple of office mates, one of them being a furry friend behind me, and I have another office mate who's an 18-month downstairs. So if you hear some strange noises, please ignore them. We're just gonna continue business as usual. I had sent everybody an email this morning with some helpful links, one of them being a link to the guidance document or the PON, Program Opportunity Notice. This is really going to be your best resource if you're looking for specific details within the program. You can obviously reach out to me whenever you have questions, but I think it's very helpful. It's helpful for me anyway to have this in front of me, especially as we're going through my PowerPoint. You might be able to answer your own questions. So just a note there. The other thing is that I included a link for Calendly, which is a really handy tool if anybody's looking for a personal assistant. So I encourage you to make your schedule your meeting with me after the fact through that app. If you have trouble with it, that's fine. Just email me. We can set something up, but it is pretty quick to use. And the last thing is I included a link to the Clean Energy Communities website, as well as a link to the other outreach coordinators in the state. So this is a statewide program. If you do not live within the 8-county region, there are other coordinators in those other areas that are able to help you through the program. And also, last but not least, our new sustainability intern, Haley Balkanoff, is also on the webinar today. She joined the team about a month ago, and she has been really helpful in that she has offered fresh eyes onto this program. So for 3 years, I've been looking at this program. It's kind of ingrained in my mind. It's easy to forget that state programs are confusing, which is why we are really valuable as outreach coordinators, because we are here to help you through these programs. Haley actually said to me that the guidance document in the program is kind of like board game instructions. Like it's very difficult to understand if you're just reading it. But if somebody's explaining it to you, and once you start the game, it's much more digestible. So don't think that there's going to be a test after this. There's a lot of information that I'm going to throw at you. Questions are always welcome. I don't have all the answers, but I will always do my best to research and get you those answers if I don't know them. So just a little bit about what we do as Clean Energy Communities outreach coordinators. We will come to your municipality, or we will participate in a town board Zoom meeting and educate the staff, the residents, the municipal officials about the program. This also includes the Climate Smart Communities program if that's something that you would like to focus on. Another thing that we do as outreach coordinators is we help to identify the actions that are appropriate for your municipality. We assist you in completing those actions. So as I had mentioned, the Clean Energy Communities website was just revamped and relaunched, and you can go to their website and check out all the toolkits. Each high impact action has a toolkit, which has a ton of resources. There are template resolutions, there's FAQs, there's links to other NYSERDA programs that might have associated funding for those actions. I really encourage you to go to that website and just click around. I put the web address in my last slide. If you just Google NYSERDA, the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority, Clean Energy Communities Program, I'm sure you'll be able to find it pretty easily. The next thing is we guide your community on documentation submission for completed action. So once you complete the actions, which is the first step, identify which actions, complete the actions. You have to submit them through NYSERDA's portal. This is probably one of the easiest portals that I've worked on, but as you know, there's a lot of different state programs that all operate on different platforms. So we are there to help you figure out exactly how to get credit for the actions that you complete. Additional services we provide as coordinators. We provide your community with tools and analysis. So a perfect example is the greenhouse gas inventory tool that our subcontractor, Jim Yanger of Climate Action Associates, developed as part of the CAPI program. So greenhouse gas inventory is an action that is part of the Climate Smart Communities program. And this tool, it's an Excel spreadsheet, helps the municipality put together that data so that you could get credit for that program, which will then get you credit within the Clean Energy Communities program. So that is also something that we can help you with. Another thing is applying for grants. So in addition to applying for the Clean Energy Communities grants that you will hopefully become eligible for, there's a lot of CEC adjacent grants. For example, the ZEV rebate, which is a DEC grant opportunity for electric vehicles or electric vehicle charging stations. Some of you might be triggered by this screenshot of Grants Gateway. This is a process that I'm familiar with, and I can help municipalities complete that program as well. So getting right into the leadership round. Just generally, this is a really great program to implement actions that are going to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and they're also going to save your municipality money. So very generally, some of the benefits of being a clean energy community: you can create pathways to lower utility bills, not just for the municipality, but also for residents. You can gain access to match-free funding for clean energy projects, spurs local jobs within your municipality, and you'll be recognized as a leader. So I'm just going to mention this ahead of time because I think it will help as I go through the high impact actions. So as Todd mentioned, one of the changes in addition to the new high impact actions is the grant structure for this program. And previously, you were eligible for a grant if you completed 4 out of 10 high impact actions. It's a little different, and it's actually a little, it's similar to the Climate Smart Communities program in that it's now a point-based system, in addition to having designation and action grants. So there aren't as many actions as the Climate Smart Communities program, but the 13 actions that we have are worth more points. So we'll talk about the exact structure at the end after the high impact action overview, but just so you know, going into it, there's point-based grants. So you reach that threshold, you're eligible for grants. There are designation grants. So if you complete those 4 high impact actions, you become a designated community, you're eligible for $5,000. If you already received a grant from being designated in the first iteration of the program, you are not eligible for another grant. If you were designated after that, the first iteration ran out of money, but before this round launched, you are eligible for $5,000. So I think I've talked to all the communities in our region that are in that situation, but if you think you're in that situation and you want to know how to claim that $5,000, please reach out and we can talk through that. The other grant structure is the action grant. So there are 2 high impact actions that can be completed without being a designated clean energy community, and they will make eligible grant funds. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of the program, which is the high impact action. So high impact actions, or HIAs, as I sometimes abbreviate it. There's a lot of acronyms in this program and in just this world. So if I ever say something that you don't know what that means, please stop me and ask me what it means. So the high impact actions, they reduce energy consumption, they help save money, and they will earn you points towards grant funds. So I'm going to pause here because this is probably a really interesting slide for a lot of people. So these are all the high impact actions. You'll notice there are some old actions, there are some new actions. The actions with the yellow arrows are the action grant actions. There are certain points associated with them. And I'm going to go through them one by one now. And again, all this information is in your guidance document. So if you want to take a good long look at that, take a look at the guidance document. So the Unified Solar Permit. A lot of municipalities who became designated in the first round of the program we will send a copy of the recording. I'm not sure if we're going to send a copy of the PowerPoint, but if you're looking for something specific, I can help you with that. So the Unified Solar Permit. A lot of municipalities completed this in the first round of the program, and if you did complete it, you get retroactively awarded points for that high impact action. The Unified Solar Permit is a template resolution that a municipality adopts so that it streamlines solar installations for ground mount and rooftop solar systems that are less than 25 kW. So that's your residential or small commercial solar installation. The next high impact action is the energy code enforcement training, which is another really popular one from the first iteration. Your code official will have to retake this training in order to get credit for the new program. Codes change. We want to make sure that the code officials are up to date on the most recent version of the code. There are benefits to doing this code training. It offers DOS credits for your code enforcement officers, your building inspectors. It's typically an in-person all-day course. There's usually 4 hours for the residential, followed by 4 hours for the commercial training. We don't have any on the books right now because we really wanted it to be an in-depth in-person training, and because of COVID, we are waiting to schedule those. But come Q2 2021, we will have some on the books. And if you are on our Clean Energy Communities mailing list, we will be blasting that information out. So stay tuned for that. Next is property assessed clean energy financing, also known as PACE, formerly known as Energize New York Finance. So this is a financing mechanism that is enabled by the municipality, and it is implemented by the Energy Improvement Corporation, and it allows property owners of commercial and nonprofits to be able to finance clean energy or energy efficiency projects for developments through a line item on their tax bill. So the new version of CPACE changed so that the liability was taken off of the municipality and put onto the capital provider. So if your municipality has adopted Open CPACE and already uploaded documentation for the Clean Energy Communities program, you do not have to do that again. You'll be retroactively awarded points for that. If you've adopted it but haven't uploaded documentation, I can help with that. And if you're looking to adopt it, we work with Sarah Smiley, who is our point person at EIC. She's a wealth of knowledge, and I would be happy to set up a presentation with her so you can learn more about the program. The new portion of this high impact action is an additional 300 points if in a municipality where PACE has been enabled, a CPACE project has actually come to fruition. So you just have to submit documentation showing that that project was complete and you're eligible for those new points. I should also note here that this high impact action is only municipalities with lien authority are eligible to complete this high impact action. So typically that's counties and cities. Clean energy upgrades. So if you completed this action in the first round of the program, you are awarded points retroactively. This high impact action is if a municipality decreases greenhouse gas emissions by 10% by doing energy efficiency or renewable energy upgrades in their municipal facilities. So I've seen towns and villages and cities do HVAC upgrades, internal LED lighting upgrades, and solar installations, and that would qualify you for the clean energy upgrades. A new addition to this is also you can purchase RECs or renewable energy certificates, or you can sign up your municipalities for community solar and also be eligible for this high impact action. Excuse me. Also, if you've done upgrades recently, but you haven't submitted documentation to receive credit for this action, those upgrades need to have been completed after January 1st, 2020 in order to receive credit for this action. Clean heating and cooling demo. So this is a new and exciting high impact action. This is if a municipality installs either an air source or a ground source heat pump in a municipal facility. So for example, say your town hall needs to upgrade its HVAC system and you're looking into air source heat pumps. That would be an excellent opportunity to install some air source heat pumps. You can include some sort of kiosk with information about how heat pumps are efficient. People are able to come into this building, view the technology, and hopefully become interested in installing that technology in their own homes or businesses. This upgrade must have been completed after January 1st, 2020. "100% renewable electricity." So this is also a new high impact action, and you get credit for this if you purchase enough renewable energy certificates or RECs to offset all of your municipal electric accounts. And this is a process that, as an outreach coordinator, I'm learning all about this process, and we would be happy to learn alongside of you if that's something that your municipality is interested in. Here's one that's probably really familiar for a lot of you, the Climate Smart Communities program. So Climate Smart Communities is another leadership program. It's an interagency program that is implemented by the DEC. Has over 100 actions that are, it's different than Clean Energy Communities in that Clean Energy Communities is focused more on energy. Climate Smart Communities is focused more on climate and resiliency. So if you become a bronze certified Climate Smart community, then you're eligible for 600 points towards the Clean Energy Communities program. I will also mention, and this is where things get really confusing, and I'd be happy to talk to anybody at length about this. If you complete actions within the Clean Energy Communities program, you get points towards Climate Smart Communities certification. So interesting dynamic that I'm always trying to sort through. In addition, if you become a silver certified Climate Smart Communities, and right now there's only bronze and silver certification, you get an additional 200 points, so you could potentially achieve 800 points for Climate Smart certification. Next is LED streetlights. If a municipality upgrades up to at least 50% of their streetlights to LED technology, they're eligible for this high impact action. If you completed this under the first round of the program, you will be awarded points retroactively. A new addition is that NYSERDA has incorporated additional points if you've converted at least 50% of decorative streetlights. Benchmarking. So benchmarking is it is enabled by passing a resolution that says a municipality will keep track of municipal building energy use for buildings larger than 1,000 square feet, and then make that information available to the public annually. So we, as outreach coordinators, help municipalities implement this high impact action by using the Energy Star Portfolio Manager tool, which is an online tool where you input electric usage, you input fuel usage, and you're able to generate reports. And those reports are what we use to help municipalities post that information to their website so that it's available to the public. This is a really helpful tool in identifying energy saving opportunities. We had a couple of examples where there was some equipment that was not working properly that was only identified after taking a look at those energy bills. So really just a great high impact action to complete on its own, but it'll also get you points towards the program. A new element to benchmarking, and I should say if you've already passed the benchmarking resolution, you will be awarded points retroactively for that. There's a new component, however, that will get you more points if you can show this information has been made available to the public. So if you can point to a link on your website, take a screenshot of the report that was made available, and in addition, allow NYSERDA to grant access to that Energy Star Portfolio Manager profile. That will help make sure that the data that's being input is of the highest quality, because we know that those analyses, they're only as good as the data that you put into them. And lastly, the other additional component to benchmarking, which is a large chunk of points for this high impact action, is only eligible for municipalities that are 40,000 people or greater, is if the municipality implements benchmarking for large private buildings. clean fleets. So clean fleets in the first iteration of the program was if you, a municipality, installed an electric vehicle charging station or purchased an electric vehicle or alternative fuel vehicle for your fleet. So if you did that in the first iteration of the program, you will be awarded 100 points retroactively for completing that action. There will be additional points available for new charging stations that are installed or new vehicles that are purchased, light, medium, and heavy duty, after January 26, 2021. So this is a really great example of where the knowledge of your clean energy coordinator comes in handy. There are a lot of funding opportunities for electric vehicles and electric vehicle charging stations at the moment. All of the utilities across the state have a Make Ready program, which will help fund the installation and infrastructure of these charging stations. There's also another NYSERDA program that will pay up to $8,000 for dual port charging stations. So those are all programs that I'm familiar with and your other outreach coordinators are familiar with, and we would be happy to pass along information about how to take advantage of those programs so that you can obtain points through the Clean Energy Communities program and then unlock opportunities for even more grant funds. Next is community choice aggregation, which if any of you are familiar with this high impact action, you know that this is a webinar in and of itself. Community choice aggregation is basically a group purchasing model for your electricity. So very basically, right now, if you haven't opted into a different energy supply, the electrons delivered to your house are the default energy mix chosen by your utility. Community choice aggregation is enabled by a municipality who says that instead of letting the utility choose the electric supply, the municipality wants to choose the electric supply instead. And this gives you the option of choosing a 100% renewable electricity supply. So in order to do that, a lot of municipalities, although they can play this role themselves, it's just a little bit more complicated, will work with a CCA, Community Choice Aggregation CCA administrator, who will help educate the public as well as go out to bid for a competitive renewable electricity supply. This process can take up to 2 years. If anybody is familiar with the process, there is a capital region aggregation in play right now. It has not been implemented. There's actually a webinar about it tomorrow. If anybody's interested in that, it's being hosted by one of the CCA administrators. You can reach out afterwards. I'd be happy to give you more information about that. It's complicated, but it is one of our higher point actions, and it can make a huge difference when it comes to greenhouse gas emissions. The new component for community choice aggregation high impact action is what we're calling opt-out community distributed generation. So this might sound really confusing, but probably a lot of you are already aware of community distributed generation. You just haven't heard it called that. So community distributed generation, or CDG for short, much less of a mouthful, is something like community solar. So as a resident currently, I have been able to subscribe myself into a community solar array. I chose one in my own town, and I am able to get a 10% savings on my electricity bill by doing that. So an opt-out CDG, and I should have mentioned this for CCA, an opt-out CDG means that a municipality will pass legislation saying that all of their residents will be included in a community solar or a different renewable energy supply CDG generator. And that will give all of those residents a 10% savings on their electric bill. So if a resident does not want to participate in this program, and this is true for CCA as well, they can opt out. So they're automatically included in, but if they'd like, they can opt out. So one of the really great components of pairing these two together is the fact that a renewable energy supply through CCA can be more expensive. So in order to offset the cost of that renewable energy supply, when paired with a 10% savings from CDG, it can be a lot more attractive for municipalities to opt their residents into. So again, I'm just going to stop there because I could talk ad nauseum about this. Please let me know if any of that didn't make sense, and I'm going to move on. Okay, so next we're going to talk about the 2 high impact actions that are you are eligible for action grants by completing. So some of you might be familiar with Solarize from the previous iteration of the program. Solarize is often implemented by community groups or climate smart community task force. I find that the most successful campaigns are implemented by a group that's really motivated to get the word out there. So motivated volunteers or staff, municipal officials, and basically these volunteers are vetting professionals in the field and providing that information to their residents. So for example, and I have them listed here, but there are 4 options for community campaigns within the new program. One of those options is community solar. So if a municipality wanted to complete a community solar campaign, a group of individuals from the municipality would vet, or you could put out an RFP for a community solar company. I actually have compiled a list of important questions to ask community solar installers based on just interactions with them, also from subscribing myself to community solar. The group would decide if, based on their responses, the availability of capacity, the community solar company's willingness to help market the program, other incentives, which community solar company they wanted to work with. So that partnership is formed, and through this campaign, the municipality and the company will help sign up residents for this technology. So for small communities, in order to get credit for this action, you have to get 10 signups. For large municipalities, which again is 40,000 or greater, you have to get 25 signups. So this model is available for community solar. It is available for electric vehicles. So giving people information about electric vehicles, partnering with a dealership, having 10 people purchase an electric vehicle, also clean heating and cooling and energy efficiency. This has a little asterisk next to it in my mind because the Capital District Regional Planning Commission also runs another program called Heat Smart Capital Region, where we are doing exactly this, but for the entire 8-county capital region. So if this is something a municipality is interested in, we kind of already have that infrastructure in place, so it shouldn't be as heavy a lift as maybe it would seem. So if you're interested in that, please reach out to us. We'll give you more information about that. And the last community campaign option is the demand response. So that's like installing smart thermostats in your house or battery storage. So again, CEC designation is not required to get credit for these actions and to access the action grant funds for these campaigns. I should also mention, that municipality can complete all 4 of these campaigns and get 200 points per campaign completed. You're also eligible for an action grant for each campaign completed. So you can get, for a small municipality, up to $20,000 for completing these 4 campaigns, or for a large municipality, you can get up to $60,000 for completing these campaigns. Okay, next is the New York Stretch Energy Code. So the New York Stretch Energy Code, will reduce energy consumption, operating costs, utility costs, and greenhouse gas emissions. This is something that municipalities can adopt if they wish to implement a code that is stricter than the current code in place. So just a little stat, this provides 11% savings over the 2020 Energy Conservation Construction Code. I am not a code expert, but again, one of the great elements of this program is that NYSERDA has set us up for success in that we have experts on hand. Mike DeWine is our New York Stretch expert. He's probably on this call right now. Hi, Mike. If a municipality is interested in learning more about New York Stretch Code, please reach out. We can help set up a meeting with us and Mike and your code officials, perhaps your economic development director, and we would be happy to pass along knowledge about the benefits of adopting New York Stretch. So you could get 12,000 points for adopting the Stretch Code. For small municipalities, there's $5,000 for action grants for this, and $50,000 for large municipalities who adopt it. And this is also the only high impact action that has a hard deadline. So in order to get credit for this, the code has to be adopted and take effect no later than December 31st, 2021, so the end of this year. So again, just a summary, we've got the action grants that I just addressed. We have designation grants, and then we have the points-based grants. So these are community campaigns. So there are a limited amount of grants available across the state. It is a first come, first served program. The large grants are available statewide, and the small to medium grants are available per region. So again, our region is the 8-county capital district. So for community campaigns, there are 25 grants available for large municipalities. There are 40 grants available at $15,000, and you have to get 25 signups in order to get credit for that, for large communities. For small to medium communities, you need 10 signups, and you are eligible for a $5,000 grant, and there are 100 of those available region-wide. For the stretch code, there are 40 $50,000 grants available for large municipalities across the state who adopt the New York Stretch Code. And per region, there are 100 $5,000 grants available. Again, very simply, the designation grants are $5,000 for municipalities that complete any 4 of the high impact actions. So the points-based grants. You complete high impact actions, you collect points, and then you become eligible for grant funding. So this is where it can get a little confusing. So I just want to reiterate here, there are 3 different levels for points. So you can get 3,000, 4,000, or 5,000 points. Those are the thresholds. Once you reach the 3,000 point level, you will cash in your points and you're eligible for a grant at that point. Another great component of the new program is that NYSERDA has streamlined the grant application process, and in doing that made it a little more prescriptive. So some of the grants, as a lot of you know from the first iteration, were used on clean energy projects like purchasing an electric vehicle or upgrading your streetlights, or actually a lot of the high impact actions are things that cost money. Municipalities wanted to access that grant fund in order to complete those actions. So as you move through that process, again, that is something that your outreach coordinator can help you with, but I just wanted to reassure you that the grant application process has changed, and I think that you'll all find it a lot smoother. So again, You qualify for these points, you cash in the points, and you're eligible for grants. And that happens for each threshold. So applicants with 3,000 points. So for large municipalities, there are 50 statewide grants at $30,000. For small to medium communities, there are 40 grants per region for $10,000. So you reach 3,000 points, you're eligible for either $10,000 or $30,000. Applicants with 4,000 points. So large municipalities, there are 20 of these statewide for $70,000. Small to medium, there are 10 per region available, and they're for $20,000. And last, applicants with 5,000 points, there are 10 statewide for $150,000 and 4 per region for small to medium communities at $70,000. So just in summary, I won't go back 2 slides because just in summary, large municipalities who are able to achieve 5,000 points are eligible for $250,000 in points-based grants, if you add up those first 3 tiers. For small to medium communities, if you add up those first 3 tiers, you're eligible for $100,000. In addition to the $5,000 designation grant, as well as additional funding through adopting the New York Stretch Code or completing the campaign actions. So that's it. That is, this is my information, my contact information. I'm working remotely about 50% of the time. That is my cell phone number. I answer all my calls unless they're 315 numbers because my warranty on my car has not expired. If you have a 315 number and you're trying to get a hold of me, just leave a message and I'll call you back. Again, I sent out the Calendly link in my email this morning. I highly encourage you to set up a meeting that way. Here's the web address for the Clean Energy Communities Program website. A couple of other things that I just took note of beforehand that I wanted to make sure that I mentioned. Another addition to the leadership round is that municipalities who are eligible for grants that are $20,000 or greater, and the projects are completed in a disadvantaged community, are eligible for an additional $10,000 for that grant project. So that's something that I can help you figure out if your municipality or if the project location is located within a disadvantaged community and will help you obtain those extra grant funds. So I think that was all I wanted to cover. And Todd or Haley, I don't know if you have anything else you'd like to add or any questions we'd like to address.
There were a few questions that came in the Q&A that I did provide answers for. I wasn't 100% sure if those were viewable by everybody or not. So we can check that and reiterate those, and we can also answer any further questions that anyone has right now.
Sure. Okay. So I see Mark's question. Hi, Mark. Do the points-based grant awards have to be used for specific actions? So the $5,000 grants, because Mark is in a small community, as well as the designation grants, you have to fill out a grant application. And you have to state that the money will be used for a clean energy project, but you don't have to go into the detail that you would have to if it was for a larger grant amount. So it doesn't necessarily have to be something specific, but it has to be something energy related. Okay, next question. We share a code enforcement officer with 2 other towns for the original CEC energy training impact action. He completed his training with another town, but it was applied to all of our towns. Can he do this again? Yes, he can. So this is very common for small municipalities. My code enforcement officer, I live in the town of Westerlo. Jeff might be on the call. Hi, Jeff. I believe also works in New Scotland, or he used to. If he took the training, he would get credit for both municipalities. How do we get to the guidance document? That is a good question. I sent a link out, and I also sent the PDF out this morning. I would be happy to email that directly to you. It is also available on the Clean Energy Community's website. I believe there's a button on one of the pages that it just says guidance document, and you can click right on there. What defines disadvantaged community? Todd, can you easily answer that question? I can look in my pond and I can read you what it says. I don't have a very clear answer for you at the moment.
NYSERDA has developed a map that shows those areas. So the way we determine it is to access the map, and that link is available on the Clean Energy Community's website.
So yes, absolutely. We look at the map and we tell you whether or not, let's see. A project location lookup tool is available on the website, and eligibility is subject to NYSERDA verification. It doesn't go into the details about what determines a disadvantaged community, but I'm sure I could find that exact information. I'm sure it's based on income level and some other components. So we can get you more details on that. What are the grant funds used for? More high impact actions or any other municipal projects like a park or a playground, for example, that isn't directly energy related. So what I've seen most of the grant funds be used towards are things that are really embedded in the program already. So as I mentioned, electric vehicles, charging stations, HVAC upgrades for municipal buildings, internal lighting upgrades. I've also seen communities do some really innovative programs like the town of Ancrum in Columbia County, also the town of Caroline, which is in the southern tier, did an LED bulb exchange. So they purchased a whole bunch of LED bulbs and they created a campaign to give away these bulbs to encourage homeowners to lower their electric bills and become more efficient. The metrics required for the grants they vary based on the project, but very simply, these grant projects need to be energy efficiency or renewable energy related. They have to be able to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and depending on the project, they have to have an attractive payback period. So it really depends. If there's something in a park or a playground that would reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and that park or playground is owned by the municipality, we can talk about it. There's within the prescriptive grant application, there's kind of a wild card option. So it depends. Okay. As communities approach conducting projects under the various CEC activities, do you also guide them to NYSERDA and utility incentives and services? Or for that part of the community's work, do you hand this off to someone else? You know, that really depends. So a great example is the Make Ready program for electric vehicle charging stations. The Make Ready program is implemented. So let me back up. If a municipality is working with a charging station installer, that charging station installer and the utility have a direct connection, and the utility will apply for that incentive for them. For things like utility incentives for air source or ground source heat pumps, that is something that the installer has to apply for themselves, but we are knowledgeable about those opportunities and we will make sure that the municipality takes advantage of them. Let's see. If a few communities work with the same organization to carry out a community campaign, will those communities get credit once they reach an enrollment threshold? That's a great question. And in order for a municipality to get credit for one of the community campaigns, they have to complete a scoping document, which is essentially just a planning document. So, for example, hypothetically, if we're talking about Solarize Albany, Solarize Albany has a county-wide campaign, and they work directly with municipalities to help fill out their own scoping documents. And then that municipality provides documentation to show that direct municipal support for the campaign. Then each municipality could get credit for that action. So yes, they could get credit for that.
And just to clarify that, but in those particular municipalities, they have to each reach the threshold. Once they reach the threshold of, say, heat pump installs or solar subscriptions, that has to be in that municipality. And the other thing to note about campaigns, at least for clean heating and cooling, is that CDRPC, as Joe mentioned, is conducting a Heat Smart campaign right now, Heat Smart Capital Region, and we cover the whole 8-county area. So we basically have already set that up for any community who wants to participate in micro campaigns. And so we would want to coordinate with you your scoping document, and we've done a lot of the work for you because we've got an installer team already in place.
I think that was all I wanted to cover, and those are all of our questions. So I will say thank you to everybody. We'll end a couple minutes early. Again, please reach out if you have any other questions. And Todd, Haley, if you don't have anything else, I will say goodbye.
I have just one other thing. We are doing, and you've seen this in the invite, we are doing a repeat of this tonight at 7 o'clock. So if it turns out anybody in your municipality wants to see this and you want to let them know, they can still sign up and they can join the webinar tonight at 7 p.m.
Great. All right. Have a great day, everyone.